What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 135. Yes, I got it right. Took me a second to get it. Yes, totally nailed it. And it was thanks to Noxious, actually, that I got it right. But welcome, guys. Obviously, I'm ChanManV, and joined, of course, by my co-host, Alliestrasza and Jackie Chan. What's up?
Hello.
Chilling on this Wednesday, everything's good.
Everything's good except for Twitch, apparently.
Except for Twitch.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But
yeah.
Twitch needs to get the game together.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, we're a bit late, guys.
Yeah, so we're a little bit late, but hopefully you guys, I don't think you guys were able to watch anything, so I think hopefully you guys will understand. But I want to welcome back our good buddy Noxious, of course. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Just another day in the life.
In the life of Professor Noxious, or Nox,
yeah,
right?
Let's call it that. I actually did a Professor Nox stream this morning, so that went well, as usual.
Sound. So people have stopped freaking out about it, right? You would be shocked how many people message me and say, did Noxious go crazy? Like, seriously, did he seriously go crazy? I'm like, no. Yes.
Okay. So like I feel like I need to elaborate on exactly what, but I'm sure a lot of people don't know what the character even is, but what happened is, I went on vacation for like 2 weeks total in the month of July, I believe, and when I came back in August, my goal was let's just rebrand the channel, do something entirely new, because I'm getting kind of tired of my my routine of doing nothing creative with streaming, because it's kind of tough really to be creative when you stream. There's very little room for that, because at the end of the day, you're still in front of your computer.
Yeah.
And unless you do IRL streams, you're kind of just going out there doing new stuff. You're pretty much at home playing video games, right? And that's it. And now people are looking for you for creative decks and stuff like that. But not every game has that, exploratory potential, and it's very difficult sometimes. Even in Hearthstone, when the meta gets stale, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So you gotta find a way to keep yourself entertained. So as far as creativity goes, I wanted to create the Professor Nox, which is an alter ego that is a little bit on the crazy side, kind of mad scientist, steampunk goggles, costume, everything. And people thought, I actually got emails from people telling me that I should get some mental help, because they were waiting for me. They were waiting, verbatim, man. They were waiting for me to enter the depressive phase of my manic depression. Like they were like, you're way up in your mania, man. Like you gotta.
Oh jeez.
Midlife crisis.
Man.
Yeah, they thought I had a midlife crisis, legitimately, and
Midlife Twitch crisis.
Yeah,
This is crazy.
I don't know.
Okay.
I admire your creativity, man.
Exactly.
Like, I think it's cool that you're trying to do something different.
It's our Sasha Fierce, man. Just our inner alter ego. I need to find mine. I gotta go definitely travel to Nepal and find my alter egos.
I traveled. I went to camp. Right? That's all. I went camping. That's all I did. The alter ego was there. I wanted to do this like 2 years ago. Just a bit of a bummer that I didn't.
Yeah, it's like that episode of Silicon Valley where they're trying to figure out the name, and he's like smoking or eating all those mushrooms. And
Of that show. Not even kidding.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. That's kind of what it was.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to the show, man. We've definitely been missing you. Just at least the last time you were here was like, what, a couple months ago or something like that? So
yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. We got a lot to talk about in terms of the Lich King today, because the final wing of the adventure mode for Knights of the Frozen Throne finally came out, and this is the thing that we've been waiting for, because everything leading up to it was pretty much the same as everything we've seen in the past, and it was super easy too. So the Lich King was supposed to be this, finale that was supposed to add the difficulty, and it definitely was harder than the prologue and the previous two wings. So
That's for sure.
We're going to jump into that, in a second here, and then we're going to talk about global games. Topic of the week this week is what we think of Team Hearthstone. Just our current opinions on Team Hearthstone. Then we've got a couple cards for Mekkatorque's workshop we've created with the whole druid theme, like maybe helping to improve the druid situation. And then Q&A at the end, where we have a couple questions. So first off, I'm going to start off just our week in Hearthstone, just like usual. What have you guys been playing? Anything cool? Jackie, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I've actually been playing a lot of Secret Hunter. I've been determined to come up with a hunter deck that actually kind of works. So I've tried like loads of different things, and actually Secret Hunter seems to be fairly good. Hunter obviously doesn't have that many good one drops, but Secret Hunter allows you to play Secret Keeper as well, which is actually fairly good.
Yeah.
And Cloaked Huntress is obviously nuts if you're getting it off with multiple secrets. Cat Trick is really good in this Jade Druid meta. And yeah, it's been going really well. I had like over a 60% win rate with it, and I was like surprised. I was like, I'm sure Hunter's meant to be terrible, but I'm doing really well. What's going on?
Okay.
So yeah, I think there's definitely potential there.
Let's look at this size. Let's look at this deck here. I have it up here. Okay, so anything crazy special about it? We've got, like you said,
Got Bear Shark in there.
Bear Sharks. Yeah, we got 2 of them.
Bear shark.
Dude, Bear Sharks.
Interesting.
Good, man.
It's good against Druid because they never play anything until turn. Well,
Yep.
wait, never mind.
Yeah.
Turn 5
Exactly.
when they have 9 mana.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what Bear Shark reminded me of, like especially when playing Druid, that I had forgotten over the years, is how good Fairy Dragon used to be against Druid. And now that Bear Shark's there, it's like, oh yeah, I get to hit for 12 with this guy. This is awesome.
Yeah. And Venom Strike Trap, the new secret, is actually really, really good, especially against like
Really?
defensive decks that have lots of high health
Insanely
things.
good.
Yeah, it's really like it's
I'm gonna
very.
try it.
I was really surprised at how useful it's been. But it's because they have to kill it, and they're like, oh, they don't. First, they have to play around the secret, and they have no idea what the secret is. And then if it ends up being the Venom Strike one, they suddenly have an extra threat to deal with, and they can't just play a taunt or anything because you just kill it for free with the poisonous.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But the more aggressive I made the deck, the better it seemed to do. So I kind of prefer it without the high mains and just more aggressive like this.
Wow, really?
So did you put Putricide in here at any point?
Yeah, I really wanted Putricide to work, but I feel like it's not quite good enough. Like almost all the time, it was just a 4-mana
Noxious
5/4.
looks like he's got some story with Putricide.
Man, okay. I gotta get this off my chest. From a professor to another Putricide, you suck. Like,
Professor to professor here.
I tried so hard. Like the
Yeah.
thing about that card is that it just looks really cool. Like the effect is
Yeah.
pretty unique.
Yeah.
Until you realize sometimes it'll just give you a secret you've got in your hand and are waiting to play. Like you're like, I've got explosive.
is
Like
the
I wait for
worst,
8
yeah.
mana and I go, 7 mana. Cloaked Huntress, Putricide, right? Like that just seems beautiful. Then you go Explosive Trap, and you have like let's say a snipe, right? So you're thinking I'm gonna play 2 traps and get 4. You go Explosive Trap, and it gives you snipe instantly. You're just like, well, okay, I guess we're getting 2 traps instead. That on its own is, I mean, to me that's like one of the parts of the variance that just is unbearably bad. And then there's the whole aspect of what am I supposed to wait for? Like I already have 2 cards that make my secrets 0 mana. Like, I don't feel that Putricide brings anything to the table that Cloaked Huntress doesn't do 10 times over, like, at all. They have the same requirements. You need secrets in your hand, and then the tempo you gain is
It's
marginal at best.
It's for the Christmas tree objective that we all tried to game for Hunter, right? We can do
Oh, I
That's
see. It's
why.
the achievement they're
That's
adding in
right.
the next
the
expansion.
achievement, the Christmas tree, the pink Christmas tree. But yeah, I know what you mean. My limited experience with it too is the similar thing, and I mean there were times where it's like I would get all these secrets, but then it's like, oh, how do I win though, guys? Like I don't know how I actually
what's
win there
that?
at the
Yeah.
end.
They don't really do anything sometimes, like
know.
misdirection. But
Yeah, this
Now
direction. Yeah, they still kill a minion, or they hit me in the face when I still don't have health. So it's it's pretty tough.
I'll say one thing about Putricide that really is unfortunate is that cards like him, and I'm not him specifically, but a lot of the classic Secret Hunter decks, like Misdirection, Snipe, Explosive Trap, Freezing Trap, they're almost hampering the consistency of what you want out of him, because no matter how much you'd like to dilute the possibilities to some specific things, you're always gonna get the chance to land those classic secrets, even in future expansion when stuff rotated out. Now in Wild, it's completely insane because you have 0 idea what you're gonna get, which might actually make him even more viable. But the classic set seems to be something of a way to hold back that mechanic from being consistent.
Yeah, I just think that with Hunter, there's just not a lot of cards that synergize with traps. Like you don't have cards that get buffed or You know, there's nothing that,
Totally,
you
yeah.
know, like some of the other classes, you are able to do that, or you're able to recycle them, or you know, things of that nature. Yeah, with Hunter, it's not that way. It's like, okay, well, these take up those slots, and that's all the value I get, you know, from them. Maybe I can get them for free
Yeah.
and play them, but there's not going to go beyond this value. And I think that's probably the main reason that it's
My Mad
hard.
Scientist was great because it's like less of an investment, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty great. It was extremely
Yeah.
great. So
I mean,
good.
if Mad Scientist is in standard right now, Hunter might be pretty good.
I think so.
Yeah.
This deck would be great, like ridiculously good, if it was. So pretty cool. You know, we talked about it a little bit last week, right? With some decks that do well against the Jade Druid, and you know, Hunter came up last week in that discussion.
Yeah.
So it's good to see this one, for sure. Allie,
Just gotta hope they don't draw Spreading Plague, and then you're all good.
Yeah.
yeah, spreading plague against your Unleash the Hounds is just laughable. It's completely laughable. Yeah. So Allie, we've
Spreading
been
plague, huh?
yeah, spreading plague.
Are we going there already?
I don't know.
Here we
We
go.
gotta hold back off. We gotta hold back the druid disdain for at least a week. Yeah. Allie, what you been playing?
So yesterday I attempted to make Dragon Mage work.
Yes.
And it was very like freeze mage type build, like double Blizzard, double Frost Nova Doomsayers with Twilight Drakes, Cinder Gosa and Frost Lich Jaina. And I liked it. I had a lot of fun. I like put Nether Spites in there at first, took them out because they weren't good enough. It just felt like I was so close to winning but I just couldn't get there. Like, I mean, in the beginning, it was actually doing okay, and then I switched things around, but it just slightly wasn't good enough. And so my soul's a little hurt because I don't know if it's, you know, viable in the meta right now. But at least it was fun. Almost, you know, like I said, the games were just so close the majority of the time where I could almost get there, but just not quite pull it out. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I was doing Dragon. I obviously did some Dragon Priest just because I was watching your stream like a few days ago, and you were playing it. So I hadn't actually done Dragon Priest this expansion yet. So getting a little bit
It's not
feel for
bad.
that. No, it's actually not bad at all. It's not that bad against Jade either. And
Were you running the Divine Spirits and Airfires?
yeah. You kind of have to. Like, you have to
You
have
kind of have to
Sunburst.
against Jades and stuff. Yeah.
You gotta have
sure.
Sunburst to win there. But then I got crazy and I went Dragon Shaman. And
what?
yeah, was doing Dragon Shaman for a while, and it was, you know, I was talking to you guys about, you know, that'd be cool to get, you know, the scale bane or whatever on the totems and things like that. So I was trying that out, and then I ended up somehow doing Murloc Dragon, and that was that was pretty fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
That went
that was
places.
pretty fun actually. So
How'd that go?
It did surprisingly well against aggro Druid, but against Jade, I think it was just, I don't know, it was just a little bit too slow. And Plague was really, really tough. I mean, Plague is just, I think, good against Shaman no matter whatever you run. So whenever they would get that, I would have a hard time. I did beat them maybe like 40% of the time, 35-40% of the time. So it wasn't horrible. And you know, going against Paladins and things like that, it was very fun. Get Murloc on Murloc.
Actually,
Crimes.
I could see that working. Yes, somewhat. Like, you know, the scale bane buffing up the small
the scale bane's
Murlocs, and
the
like,
one
and you
that
drop
was
the
good.
war leader, and I can see it spiraling out of control.
Yeah,
If you draw it in the right order and stuff.
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot of fun, and just trying to think outside the box and coming up with something crazy there. But I definitely highly recommend trying out like all the dragon cards and playing around with that, guys, if you haven't, because you know a lot of people play Elemental now, and obviously Jade, and there's still lots of tribes, you know, or groups of cards, or you know, that whole synergy that I think a lot of people haven't delved into yet, just because Jade's so good. But Noxious, how about you?
Guys...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, have you guys played Bone Drake much?
I had it in the Dragon Mage.
Yeah, I did. I played it like once. I didn't really love it though. What'd you think of it, Allie?
Like, I wanted to keep it in there. I really did. I just felt like it wasn't good. I mean, like it was definitely good. It just wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And so I wanted another Blizzard. I had one Blizzard, and then I swapped out the Bone Drake. So getting it off another Spec Historian, I think the card's actually pretty strong. But it just it didn't fit. And I'm sad because obviously that was the card I revealed. And so I've got a soft spot for Bone Drake.
One thing. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I'm good.
Oh, one thing I didn't realize about Bone Drake is that you can get operative no matter what class you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
I didn't think it would be like that, but
it's because we're so used to Discover now, right? Like we think everything we're gonna get, like the little what's his name, the corpse digger guy, the 3-mana 3/1 that sometimes shows up when they evolve, whatever, and they just get a random death rattle. It's like, it can actually be anything, and. I'm just not. We're so unused to that. It seems like randomness has been funneled now. It's like, Babbling Book gives mages mage spells. Glyph gives mages mage spells. It's like we all kind of know where this is going, and then you get these cards that sometimes come up and they give you a true random, and then you get a Tyrion. You know, you're facing down a Tyrion because they got a 3-drop that gave them it. You're like, what? You just have no idea what happened, and
That happened to me with Sindragosa. I got Tyrion and Antonitis for my Sindragosa, and I was like,
Sindragosa gives...
the legend.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was doing. Yeah, that's like the entire thing about Sindragosa. Yeah.
What?
That's why I wanted to make Dragon Mage work, because it's really cool. Yeah.
Sindragosa is like the fun card, or the fun dragon. Yeah.
It's a little slow, like in all honesty, but still, it's fun.
Yeah. My comment about Bone Drake is that I never feel like I am lacking cards. You know what I mean? Like especially if I need a dragon card. You know, like there's not that many. Like I don't find the dragon requirement as big of a deal as it used to. You know, like when I needed it for Worm Rest and everything else before. So Bone Drake's just kind of like just another big body. It's like a worse operative. And at that point, I'm like trying to get to Drake. You know, like I'm trying to set up for some type of Divine Spirit Inner Fire setup, or maybe Bone Mare if you're running that too. And Bone Drake's not quite what I want to do at that point.
It's a decent amount of pressure. Like if people have the opportunity to polymorph it, like people usually polymorph my Bone Drake. Like they place a high priority to remove it. So it's good in that sense. But I do see what you're saying.
Maybe N'Zoth could work. You know,
that's what I was gonna say. The most success I've had with Bone Drake was actually with N'Zoth. I've been trying so much Control Hunter, man. Like, you have no idea. It's just, I'm so hell-bent. People in the stream are actually getting a bit fed up with it, I'm sure. They don't let me know, but some of them are. I think I've tried everything under the sun. The one list that was interesting was the one with N'Zoth at the top end, which obviously is always kind of good in those Control Hunter decks. In Wild with Belcher, Bone Drake, and Highmane. So you cut Sylvanas, you play Bone Drake instead, so it gives you the card advantage you never have in Hunter. And that's one of those ways you can replenish. And because you're in Wild, you can actually just go insane with the Reno shenanigans.
Oh,
like Control Hunter Reno is actually okay. Like it's just as good as a 2-of Hunter, because Hunter cards are just so, I don't want to say bad, but like they just don't work in control decks. That you might as well spread them all out, and you'll probably end up with a similar result. And Bone Drake's pretty okay, like at applying that pressure. But I don't know.
It's scary when it comes back off of N'Zoth, especially if you have 2. It's like hello damage.
If only we could go that long with some of these decks. It's not very easy to
turn
go
4 lethal. What?
I don't know about lethal, but even priest
turn 4 lethal.
Turn 4. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've died on turn 4 today.
Really? Against what?
Yeah, aggro druid, savage
Aggro druid.
Oh yeah.
I had like 17, 19 worth of stats.
Yeah,
I was
that's
dead.
true.
There's
That's
nothing
true.
I can do.
You can get 10 damage on your face on turn 1. It's like ridiculous. All right. Well, anyways, definitely some fun stuff. Actually, Noxious, what did you play? I didn't get a chance to ask you.
Well, I mean, Control Hunter a lot. Deathstalker Rexar, I've tried him in like 1,000 shells. I thought it'd be more because I was super excited for Frostless Jaina, but I realized that the only way to play her was like, because I didn't like the elemental mid-range mage that came up in Ungoro. Like that wasn't an archetype I didn't like, and I feel like she just pushed that further. So you either play her like that with more control tools, or you just don't play her at all. And the archetypes where she fits in just kind of bore me right now. Maybe at some point it'll be cooler because she can be her own standalone win con. Like that's what I want to see. Is just she's her own win con where you get to ping and then create water Ellies. But as it stands, she requires a bit too much of a package that I'm not particularly happy
I
with.
can definitely see potential in it though. Like
Yeah.
even the elemental one right now is I think decent, but nobody, at least most of the community, probably not us, but most of the community is still just fixated on quest mage, right? And so just that type of
I mean, the deck's pretty good, but
it is, but it's just the same thing with Jade, right? It's like it's good.
And I
but
also think-
that's all we're gonna play. We're not gonna play anything else. So
ChanMan's bitterness just like seeps through in one crushing wave.
I know.
It's
The salt.
one massive
exactly.
wave of salt, man.
You're
I just
killing
got
us,
hit.
man. You're killing us.
Oh, man.
We're killing ourselves, man. That's what's killing. That's the worst. It's just like watching us kill ourselves. It's like
So the thing too is like, so as far as what I actually played, I said I wanted to play Jaina, but I ended up not liking her remotely enough to do so. So I tried to figure out what other Death Knights I really, really liked. Shadow Reaper Enduin I liked, but I recognized very quickly. Well, you play him, probably for the I would say OTK, but it's like a 3-turn kill. You just ping him 1,000 times and you eventually win.
Yeah.
With
not much
Raza
variety
to
to
change.
it.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
There's
just
nothing
that.
interesting about it. The warrior one didn't really go anywhere. And so as far as like diversity of gameplay, the rogue one and the hunter one, man, these two are just right up my alley. I just love that stuff. It's incredibly varied, like what you can do with them. I know the zombies are kind of a meme because they're pretty. Like, I mean, the beasts are good, but you're paying a 2-mana premium to get them. It's like, yeah, grats. Now you have the warlock hero power. Clap your hands, everyone. The problem is, like, Hunter doesn't have time to play those 7 drops, but it's such a cool mechanic. Like, if there's a very good chance that becomes viable at some point, like at the top levels, if there's enough supporting control tools for Hunter to have and draw tools. Really, I really like it.
Yeah,
Draw. It's really draw, right? That's the issue with Hunter. It's like not really good.
Yeah, I really think the Rogue Death Knight has a lot of potential. I think Rogue hasn't really been explored that much yet, but you can get such insane value out of the hero power. I think that, like, I was even playing a quest Rogue earlier with the Death Knight, and I beat a J Druid. That was pretty good. Yeah.
Look out!
Who was
Quest
it?
Rogue. Wow.
Yeah, but Quest Rogue did beat J Druid though, pre-nerf, right? Like pretty easily.
It's like little brother
Yeah,
beating up on
it
big
did
brother.
pretty well. I mean, you just get a bunch of 5/5s. Druid doesn't do very well against that. I mean, now they might just create a wall of 5s, stall you 1 turn, and then find a way to beat you afterwards. But you know what? I almost wonder if Spreading Plague wasn't them trying to fix the rogue quest before they nerfed it. Like
It could have been.
you have to wonder because it's like
it could have been.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, we talked about
Maybe.
this. We talked about this weeks ago about Quest Rogue. Whenever they nerfed the Quest Rogue, that eventually there might be a swing back to Quest Rogue. Maybe it's time, folks. Maybe it's time to fight cancer with
Bring it
Ebola.
back.
It's like
I want Ebola's side.
yeah, my tumor had a tumor.
exactly. Yes. So maybe Quest
Cancer with Ebola.
So maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for Quest Rogue to be revisited again. But I do agree with you. The hero power for the Death Knight is extremely good, and it's like copying any card that you want, and you get to choose which card you want it to copy too, each turn. So it's really, really great that way. At least value wise, like you just have unlimited ammo. So if you choose Jade, all of a sudden you have like some depth to Jade now. If you choose some kind of combo-ish type of thing, or maybe even elementals like we did before, you've got even more elementals now. So it's it is ending up being one of the coolest hero powers for sure. So okay, well anyways, I think that why don't we move on to the next section, which is the Lich King, which is the part that we were probably going to talk a lot about. So first off, did everybody finish it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I did. I barely finished it in time. Holy crap!
Last night, 2 a.m. for me.
Yes,
So.
me too. Me and Allie like literally 24 hours trying to finish this thing. Yeah, because I didn't have time to play it earlier in the week, and tried not to look at any of the spoilers either. So I mean, I saw some of the videos where like Ben was trolling Tice, so I had an idea as to at least like what the hunter did, and things like that. but for the most part, I didn't. So, all right. First off, favorite matchup. Like, what was the class that was your favorite?
I enjoyed Warlock. Actually, I thought Warlock was actually a little bit difficult, but I played a Mal'Ganis Reno Lock, and Reno Lock's my favorite deck of all time. So I just enjoyed the experience overall.
So that's gonna sound fucked up, but I actually created. So people were playing, Jade Druid just normally. But I decided to play Jade Druid and just put a bunch of 2-drops in there to thin the deck down to Idols, Innervates, and Auctioneers.
Yeah, that's smart.
So that was pretty interesting. The idea of just using the mechanic to thin your deck, I thought was cool. I'm not sure if it's cool, but I thought it was nice. Because it's still Jade Druid, but I really like the idea that you could use the mechanic in your favor. And I guess Warrior must have been my favorite one, but you had to abuse it a little bit in the second phase with Brawl, where you just tank the damage since you can afford to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
What armor did you get up to, guys, when you did the Warrior?
Man, like 150 or something.
Me too. It was crazy.
What deck did you guys use for Warrior? I used Fatigue Milne Zoth Warrior, which was pretty good.
I used I'm a filthy net decker, but I used the glitch with Kel'Thuzad and Public Defender.
It's not a glitch.
I didn't even know.
Well, it's not a glitch. Sorry, glitch is the wrong word for it. But I used that interaction to just drop the Scaled Nightmare and just let them get enormous, and then finally kill the last 2/6, and then just.
Oh,
it's
wow!
It's
I
funny,
didn't even know you could
that
do
was
that.
my first instinct. My first instinct was I need a high attack guy because I can never wear him down naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the highest attack guy I get in Warrior is going to be a guy that doubles and doubles and doubles, and that's Scaled Nightmare. The puzzle part was, how do I survive? And I think the easiest answer to that was let him not play cards in phase 2. And just keep 1/2/6 alive, and that solved itself pretty quick.
That's what I did as well.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy.
The Scaled Nightmare is what I ended up using too. Yeah, so that
well, there we go.
yeah. I started with trying to do the Infinite Giant thing, man. That didn't work at all. Man.
It took so long too. It's like you spend 40 minutes getting there, and then you're still dead to fatigue,
I lose. Oh, it was like so killer. I'm like, this is the worst. This is the worst use of time ever. So, yeah, I finally dropped that after about an hour of doing it.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but the Warrior one was. I don't know if it was fun for me, but it was probably the most time consuming for me though. That one.
Yeah.
I got it first try, but I got.
Oh, did you get a first
one
try?
was really
Wow.
difficult.
On a
Oh
Warrior,
my
I got
god, really?
I figured out Scaled Nightmare. I just tried to figure out a way to stay alive.
Nice.
And I was looking for taunts. I was going for Bloodhoof, but then I realized the Bloodhoof would kill the 2/6 eventually, and that would transition me into the third phase.
Yeah, which is auto loss basically.
So yeah, that was the puzzle part. Was figuring out which taunt to use.
Yeah.
At first, I was looking at Shield Bearers, like double Shield Bearer, to get the KT double Shield Bearer to tank the hits. But then Public Defender came up. So
yeah. Let's see, another one I like the Paladin one. So
Paladin was tough.
yeah, it was tough.
I
started with Warrior and Paladin last night. Okay, those are my first two. So I'm just like, man, this is brutal, dude. If all of these are like this, I'm never finishing this before the show. But so I started with both of those, and eventually I ended up getting it. But it was a lot of iterations though. Like I went through. I started off with just kind of like your Murloc deck. Then I obviously transitioned very quickly to control, and then I ended up with a pretty just big Paladin at the end. Like I just had big Paladin. If they're yeah, like,
big Paladin.
yeah, I just had like all my Dragon Lords and Deathwings and stuff. I had all those things at the very end, and as long as I was able to get 2 of them on the table at once towards the end, I was able to win. But it took a while to get to that point. Yeah.
Interesting.
I did a buff Paladin. I had young Dragonhawk. Is that the little one?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's the one.
And every buff in the world.
They didn't obliterate it though?
No.
No.
He did.
He did.
Oh, he did.
Okay.
That and the Hunter, because I had the Molten Giants for Hunter. It was just Can you get the card you need, and will he have the obliterate? Like, that's
right. Got it.
That was my
of
night
my
last night. And
Oh, God.
I finally got there. I buffed it up well enough, had divine shields on it, and finally got there. But yeah, it took a while.
How much healing did y'all? I had to put a lot of healing in my deck to even survive the second phase.
Yeah, I had a lot of healing. I had like double lay on hands
Dude.
because I was playing Exodia Paladin because obviously you can use wild cards. So with Emperor, it makes it a lot easier.
Oh, that's
Wow.
fun. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool. Oh man.
I don't know,
I
man. My
killed him
tactic
before
was kill him
second
before
phase.
turn 7. Like,
Yeah,
if I got
that
to
was
7, I lost pretty much every time.
Yeah,
It was just
that's
like,
probably
I guess
smart.
if he had Blizzard, I lost. If he had turn 7, I lost. I was just, all right, turn 5 clock, here we go. Every game. Face
Yeah.
Hunter, everything just was, I don't know. I mean, some decks it didn't work that way. Like Warrior, Warlock, you could mostly-ish take your time. Like you had
Yeah.
to, kind of.
I've definitely felt the power of Bone Mare more so playing
Oh
against the
my
Lich
God.
King than playing any real person ever. I'm just like,
Bone Mare,
every time
man.
Miracle comes down, I'm just like, damn, dude, damn.
That's
that
a
was-
good card.
Exactly. Crap.
Definitely one of the best cards from the expansion by far. Like,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Oh man, it literally just steals games from me. Like I'm like, oh, I got it. I'm finally stabilizing. Then boom, one Bone Mare, and you're like, okay, maybe I can get through that. And then the second one comes down right after. It's like, dude, man.
With that as well,
Dude.
right? Like, he's always, it's like that obliterate. He'll just have none for the first 3 turns.
Yeah.
Then he just has runner obliterates after you set up a board. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I guess
Yeah.
we restart.
Hey, one thing I thought about after I finished all this stuff that I never tried? Can you steal his hero power?
No, I tried.
Okay,
Sexus
okay. I never
Bellinger
got a
does
chance
not
to
work.
try it.
He
Okay.
tried it. Wow.
Yeah, I never got a chance to try it, so I
I
was
really
wondering.
wanted to kill him with his own game, but it just didn't. Like,
Yeah.
Didn't work.
One thing that happened to me, I don't know if did this happen to any of you guys. You know when they play the Frostmourne and they get all the 2 6s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once they did it twice in one game. Did anyone else
What?
have that?
What? No.
Yeah, I was playing
I think
Paladin.
How? Wow.
What?
I don't know.
He had two
Should've recorded
Frostmournes?
that,
I
man.
lost.
He had 2
obviously,
Frostmournes?
Yeah, he had 2.
That never happened to me, no.
Yeah, my whole chat was going
Come
crazy.
on.
Like, what?
Come
You should
on.
make that into a YouTube video
Wait.
because I think that's super unusual.
The game was actually going pretty well as well, and then I was like, what?
Is there a way for
It's
him
pretty
to put
hard
a
to
copy
recover
of
from
cards
that.
in? Is there a way? Is there like an actual card that would give you a copy of a weapon? I'm thinking if there's ever a world in which he's able to copy it and
I mean,
somehow-
Boomerang gets it back.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have it from Lich King or anything like that, right? Like you didn't have it in your hand. Did you? Because you can have one
No,
too.
I wasn't playing Lich King. I was playing Paladin with like a load of draw.
Okay.
The Exodia thing.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
Wait, did he ever get to steal your Lich King? That he would create one in his hand?
Well, he didn't
No,
have.
I
Lich
wasn't
King.
playing Lich. I wasn't playing Lich King. No.
Okay.
That's why I don't know. It might have just been a bug.
You could
Really weird situation.
you could still get the Frostmourne from the 2/3, the one mana 2/3 that drops a Lich King.
Ah.
So if you stole that, you might have given him. Well, no, because that's not a card, right? It's not, it's not
I don't
actually.
know,
To be
man.
honest, I
That's
didn't even
pretty
think how it
crazy.
happened. I was just like,
That's
oh my
pretty
god, I'm
crazy.
just gonna
Just clip it and
Yeah,
send it.
clip
to
it. Somebody
him, 'cause
clip
I
it.
wanna
Somebody go
see
back
it.
to Jackie's
Yeah.
stream.
Alright, I'll go watch the VOD again.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty
th-
crazy.
I have a better question. Had you consumed anything illicit before the attempt? Is
Yeah,
your memory
are
of
you
it
imagining
vivid
things,
or
Jackie?
blurry?
That's true. Let's see.
You know-
I'll get that VOD and I'll show you guys. I'll show you. Like that.
I guess which one was the easiest one, or kind of like, all right, they spent all
Grease,
their
man.
energy on.
I can't
the-
emote, and I just
Ruined.
OTK. That was
True, it was easy.
the
Rogue was pretty easy.
zip it. did y'all do that with Priest?
yes.
To try and
Oh yeah, that was good.
Zip
I like that.
yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think so too. Druid and Priest are probably the two easiest.
Shaman was pretty easy as well. Just
Just Murlocs. Murlocs were
the-
OP in this. Like
Yeah.
a Rogue,
Yep.
I used Murloc, Shaman, and Mage. All Murloc
Yeah.
decks, and I just
Historically,
Yeah.
Murloc decks have done well in adventure mode too.
yeah, makes
So,
sense.
I think the Inner Fire, the Divine Shield, the Divine Spirit Inner Fire deck, and Murlocs have always been good for me on adventures. So it was pretty similar, except for I didn't use the Divine Inner this time around.
Oh, you did it? I just played
Neither did
Purified
I.
Priest.
Oh, did you?
I beat him through the
Priest.
Blizzard.
Yeah, I did pretty much the same. Like
Oh,
tempo
okay, right. That makes sense. Oh yeah, I should have totally done that.
What did you guys do
Easy.
for Hunter? Hunter was pretty hard.
Hunter's hard.
Oh yeah,
Face Hunter.
That's the all spell one, right? Was that the all spell
Some
one?
spells.
I went
Oh, it's
Face
all
Hunter
right,
and I
yeah.
put myself at took 0 damage, killed him on 6. That was it.
Really?
What?
He can't deal damage to you. Like, there's no way he deals damage to you unless he gets to 7, right? He can't get to your face. So I just put a bunch of face cards and went face. I was at 8 health on turn 1 and I didn't care.
Yeah, and I realized
Wow.
quickly that you actually do have to take damage, right, from minions. But I didn't do that. Wow, that's crazy. That's
I mean, I got lucky with the hyena opener. I won't lie.
oh god.
'Cause I went with like
Yeah.
I got the hyena and then a really sick unleash, and then the second hyena came off the top exactly on 5, so I got like the double hyena dream with 14 attack, wind fury, crackling razor,
Oh my
disgusting.
god.
Alright.
That's crazy.
It was-
I got
You
Arena,
know, when
but
I say
much
easy,
later.
I mean you gotta get a bit lucky, but it works.
That was basically what I did, but I had Molten Giants, and I insta-conceded or restarted if I didn't draw Molten Giant in the first 2 turns. Every
my
single
God.
time. I just waited. I
I did-
waited for Molten Giant, and that was another instance of hope he doesn't have the Obliterate, and then one time I had the
RNG,
dream,
baby.
Alley
RNG.
Cat into Hyena, into Molten, and he didn't have it.
Done.
Oh, that was probably one of the most satisfying ones to get, because I was just like losing my mind.
Man, I tried to control Hunter at first, right? I legit went like toe to toe with him, tried to do it fairly. The Rexstar Deathstalker, huge lifesteal stealth beast
yeah.
that did like the dishes and everything. I couldn't even like. There's nothing to do. Like he
Yeah,
gets
it's
phased
not even close.
auto-
Yeah. I almost finished it with Flappy Bird and that trying
Oh
crazy
yeah, I had
shit.
a Flappy Bird.
I was really close, and then I just came up a little bit short because it wasn't enough. But that was a fun one too.
I should have done what you guys are doing. It sounds like you guys all went face. I ended up doing like Barnes, Yasharge, Malygos, Hunter, and like.
Yeah, I tried all sorts of
cool,
stuff,
though.
man. Like the Barnes Yasharge. I know I tried Barnes Yasharge Gazrilla. Yeah, I was looking for my RNG. I was like, you Barnes the Yasharge that pulls out the Gaz. You're good to go, right? Every time the Gazrilla landed on the board, all I heard was obliterate, and it just
Yeah,
died
that's the
miserably.
tough part. That's why
It's so-
that's why I avoided like even the priest, because I knew he had obliterate, and then it's just like, oh, if he just kills it every time. I figured the algorithm would be
No,
he just
man.
kills it every time.
He never obliterates minions that can't attack until you OTK him with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep him unsilenced
Yeah,
until
that
you're
makes
ready
sense.
to go off.
Makes sense.
Oh,
Makes
that's
sense.
interesting.
Yeah, abusing that. Any others stand out to you guys? It was fun.
The
though.
one
I
that
mean,
took the most attempts for me was the mage. I was just going for the Kabalaki counter spell every time.
Yeah.
And just if I didn't get
God.
it, just restart straight. I restarted about 30 times.
I was trying
I
to.
tried a Molten Giant version with Mage, and I eventually gave up and did a water deck with Murlocs, and I got that on the first try, and I was like,
Yeah, I think I did the same thing.
Really?
yeah,
I did
Wow.
the same. I went Murlocs with
Cool.
Mage after like mulliganing from Moltens forever.
forever.
I must have spent like an hour and a half mulliganing and playing them, and then it just gets obliterated. Yeah, that happened.
Well, I did a combo of both Jackie and Allie's thing because I did the Cabal and I was doing the Giants, and I think I just got lucky that I finally just got the Cabal, just the right combo
Wow.
in the beginning, and just obviously got the spell. So
To be fair, it's kind of cool that there are like so many puzzles to solve in this one. Like obviously cheesing it with Murlocs. The few times I did it with the like 3 classes, I think I ended up just Murlocking and hoping for the best draw. That was not as satisfying as like puzzling out my way around a decent tempo deck with Rogue, or getting a decent face hunter and just figuring out, well, after 3 hours of control hunter, let's just play face and see how that goes and just get it. There's something satisfying about that.
yeah,
Overall, though, I thought it was really fun. Like, it was long, but it was a fun experience.
Yeah, I have to say the Lich King is like definitely the most fun I've had on a solo adventure so far in Hearthstone. I hope they do more things like this because it's like the first two weeks were pretty easy. They were kind of, you had to make quirky decks, but they were pretty easy. But then the Lich King was a real like grindy challenge with lots of you have to keep changing what you're doing and trying things out, and it's a lot of trial and error. And I thought it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought I liked it too. Would you guys want it to be a little bit or even more custom to each of the classes instead of, because like right now it was really just the one card, just that one mana card that was different, and then everything else about the Lich King was the same. So there was some, I think, positives about that, just because we kind of knew going in, like what it was going to be like, and still trying to problem solve, like whenever he does get Frostmourne or play Frostmourne and things like that. But would you have wanted even more of a custom experience for each of the classes? So like the Lich King does different things. He might
like
not
different
have,
cards, no Frostmourne on 7, shenanigans like this. Like
Yeah,
it really changes.
yeah.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I think it
Maybe. I mean, I think the one mana spells were so impactful. Like it did mean that every deck you had to make was completely different. But yeah, I do see what you mean. So you're not kind of it came that you knew what minions they were going to play every turn. They were going to play the 2/3 that gave you a card. They were going to play the 3/4 guy on turn 3.
But that's what I kind of like about card game puzzles, because I mean, in Hearthstone it's not even 100% predictable, right? Like there are card games where they literally give you a lethal puzzle and it's go solve. This is a bit different, where there's a little bit of variance in the way it comes out. Like the 2/3 is not always there on the coin. There's always a bit of variance in the way that things happen.
I think they built a good skeleton. Like they built a very good skeleton, for just all 9 of them this time. But I think it would have been the next level, which was already great. It would have been just mind blowing if they would have had just like a little bit of a different one. Like it would have been funny if the priest one is just nonstop silencing like everything of your stuff. Not just like your emos. It would have been kind of funny if he was doing things like that. But as long as they break it into like these phases and these stages, I think that's where they really, really hit the mark this time, because it feels more like a puzzle. Like you have to get through stage 1 of the Lich King and then waiting for Frostmourne. Okay, now Frostmourne's there. You have to have an answer to the 2/6s. And then so you need to have that in your deck. And once you get through that, then some of the classes had even more to go with after that. Some of them didn't. So I think it was good that you could approach it that way. Like you had to build a deck that could even withstand the 3 phases. So if they keep doing that, I think just that skeleton, I think they'll be good. But if they can customize it even just a little bit more for each class, I think that would be like crazy outstanding.
Another notch above that, which would have been pretty.
It's more work though, so there's only so much they can do.
Well, I'll say I like the way Adventure was handled this time around. Instead of being this thing that you buy, unlock over 7 weeks, like because the thing is, you used to have cards gated behind it, right? And that just didn't feel good at all for the. I mean, I didn't like it at all. It was just miserable for 4 weeks. So I'm glad that it's coming as like a free thing that you can do. And I'm also glad that people sorted out a way to complete it as free to play, right? Like we didn't really highlight this, but some people did it as free to play. And initially, when I first saw the challenges, I was thinking, well, there's an easy way to make you buy packs, right? Like this is just. It's making me hate life, man. Like you can't, you just can't. And then free to play people come out and say, "We're so clever, all of you pay to winners. We did it anyway." It's like, oh wow. So maybe I was wrong, and at the end of the day, it still is achievable. So
there's many solutions, right? I mean, that's the thing. There's many solutions to the problem.
And I like that you could use wild cards as well. Like that's
you start realizing how powerful wild is. Oh, it's amazing. Okay, well, why don't we move on? And one last thing about the Lich King, dude. Funniest voice lines, like I there have been some good ones, but man, like I found myself laughing out loud like several times.
The first time I heard it. Sometimes you're like, bro,
how did this get through QA? When you counter spell his one cost spell as mage, he's just like, what? You're thinking that can't possibly be real.
Exactly. Or whenever you play Lich King, he's like, he doesn't say "Hey, sexy," or he says something like
"You're so handsome."
Yeah, you're so handsome, or something like that. Yeah, or you, the amount of pain that you're going to be taking today will be legendary, but not your deck, or something like that, or your rank, not your rank, right, or something hilarious like that. But anyways, definitely A grade for the voice lines this time around, because they were cracking me up.
And on the other side of that same note, When I get the Arthas skin and I don't get an interaction with Jaina and Uther, I'd like to requisition some special work be done because I don't know, man. Like that just doesn't feel right. Arthas's babe and Arthas's dad just don't. You can't not give them a line. You gotta give them something, bro.
That's true.
Please.
That's true. They're all part of the Lich King, right? So.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
All right, well, let's move on here so we can move along just because we get started a little bit late and talk about global games. So global games culmination, the finals, the grand finals happened this past week, and we had 4 of the best teams competing against each other. It was like what was it? U.S., Czech Republic, Ukraine, and one other one. Oh my gosh, I'm totally having a brain fart here. Who was the last country, huh?
Ukraine?
No,
Ukraine
Ukraine,
and
Czech,
Czech.
U.S. and who did Ukraine play first round? I'm trying to remember. I was watching. Oh,
Canada.
Is it Canada? It wasn't Canada, was it?
I don't think they got
I
that
don't know.
far.
South Korea.
Korea.
Oh,
Korea.
South Korea. Yeah, South Korea. That's what it was. Yeah. So
Thanks, chat.
yeah, thanks, Jack, guys. So, anyways, congratulations to the Czech team for winning it, and they actually beat the Ukrainian team and they beat the U.S. team. So, I would say 2 of the favorites coming into the finals, led by Stan Sivka. I think he's the most notable person on the team. But it didn't sound like you guys watched it because obviously you guys didn't know the answer to the South Korean thing too. But I don't know. Did you guys watch it at all, or?
I caught some of the very end, but the timing of it is always a little bit difficult just because of the. So I end up watching VODs, and sometimes it's bits and pieces because I can't sit down for the full thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But the fact that Sivka, at the end of the day, ends up getting another top finish in one of the highest profile events. I mean, that's not like the World Championship, but it's equivalent to that in a way in terms of how much time went into it and the amount of games that you had to play. But because it's a team event, people might make it less of a focal point on the player and more on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a Pro Tour winner in Magic. He's a chess, FIDE Master player. He's doing amazing result-wise in Hearthstone just based on this performance alone. If you don't even look at the rest of his plays. I don't know. I'm just impressed.
He's
the guy's a
he's
beast,
been a good
man.
player
The guy's
for
a beast.
a while now. So
insane.
Definitely notable. But this event lasted, man, how many months? I think it started in March. So
It's been going on for a while.
It's been a long time. And Jackie, you participated in it, given that you were on the UK team. So
yeah, we didn't do quite so well. But yeah, it was still fun. Still had a good time.
Yeah, I wish they would have done the finals at BlizzCon, because I think it would have gotten a lot more hype. Having more of a live audience, and I mean the fact that US is there too. Just being in the US, I think would have been just like the crowd would have been cheering. Obviously pretty loud for that. So I'm surprised that they're doing this because I don't think they're doing anything competitively at BlizzCon. There's definitely some things planned, but nothing like HCT or World Cup, or not World Cup. Sorry, Global Games.
Yeah, but something along those lines. Yeah, I understand what you mean.
So outside of that, I think overall first iteration of Global Games is pretty good, but I don't know. I wish they would have. I don't know what they could have done. Yeah, it's so many games. That was the thing. It just happened over so many weeks that people just start forgetting about it. Just like, oh, it's the Global Games again. So there's not as much hype. I don't know. Did you feel that, Jackie, or did you feel like there was a lot of hype just around your matches every time you were playing?
There was a lot of hype at the start. Like at the start, everyone was like really into it, and it was getting a lot of viewers, and everyone's really hyped about it. And then I think because it went on for such a long time, it kind of dipped a bit in the middle, and a lot of people lost a bit of interest, especially if like your country that you're rooting for has like dropped out. People lose interest again, and then obviously when it comes towards the end, like quarterfinals, semifinals, etc., then so it's kind of like a U curve in interest, I would say.
Right. Yeah. So I hopefully they're gonna. I hope they do it again. I would say I hope they try a different format for it, just because, it's just your normal games, right? Like there's nothing that special about watching it, and I think that's one of the reasons why maybe the viewership wasn't crazy high. So maybe they can think about something a little bit different. Still have them representing your country. I think that's really cool. But maybe have them do, I don't know, some type of newer team format, which leads me to
condense it somehow.
Yeah, condense it. Not have it go definitely not have it go 5 months. I think that was just really long. But that kind of leads me to the topic of the week, which is, how do you guys feel about Team Hearthstone, or at least today? Because about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, Team Hearthstone, that's brand new thing. We thought it was amazing, awesome. Having the whole comms where you can hear the team talking to each other, that was all brand new back in the day. Now, we've seen at least 5 to 10 events now that have been doing that.
Yeah.
And do you guys still like it? Do you think there's still a very good appeal to the Team Hearthstone formats?
I don't know how to put it, but we talked about that as a matter of how to frame the team, right? Do people root for the team or their country? Do they root for the individuals within the teams? We're people who are rooting for the Czech team, for instance. Were they rooting for Sivka or for Czech Cloud or for the anchor? I can't pronounce his name worth my life. Or Pokrovac, right? They have different players, but who are people getting behind? And then the question, of course, I think that's where the question needs to be looked at from. Maybe it's the way it was framed that wasn't compelling, because some of the team formats in the past were very much about teams, right? It's Tempo Storm or Complexity or Archon back in the days. They were differentiated that way.
Yeah, true. Allie?
Jackie and I participated in Battle of the Best with 7th class, and I really enjoyed that experience. I thought it was fun, and I when it came to the individual teams, kind of getting to see how we all interacted, I thought it was interesting. When I went back and watched other matches, G2 and Tempo Storm and everything. So when it was the individual teams, I thought it was very cool, and I also think the countries is fun too.
Do you all like the team tennis format, or do you like the everybody talks to each other and decides on there's just basically somebody driving?
I don't like when there's somebody driving and they're debating, because it ends up strong personality that's maybe one of the better players that ends up making all the calls, and the other players have either to nod or propose some inane alternative line of play. Hey, we could Holy Nova to wipe his board here. How about we just pass the turn, take more damage, and bait an extra 2/2? It's no, we never do that. So let's not.
Yeah, it's sometimes difficult when you're in a team, especially in global games where you got 4 on your team, so you have 4 different people playing one game in a game that's meant to be played by one person. It can be a bit tricky at times, especially if you've got 2 people who, when I was playing global games, I was actually really surprised at the amount of times we disagreed on plays. I thought people would be in the same boat a lot of the time. And a lot of the plays were obvious, but actually it's actually crazy how much professional players kind of disagree on small decisions. That's
good. I mean, it's definitely.
I think Hearthstone is a game where sometimes you can take different strategies, so it's not just there's one right line the entire game. But I do think though that if you make a decision to go one line, you kind of need to follow it up. So it's if you make one correct line and then you try and switch it halfway through, that's where you can kind of get into issues. So I can see how the conflicting opinions.
That's actually one, to add to your point, Allie, that's actually one good thing about Hearthstone is that hasn't been figured out. All the probability and lines and all the scenarios, they haven't been completely figured out so that is a singular right play every. I mean, there probably is. Mathematically, there is a singular right play. Yeah. So it's just Hearthstone. We haven't gotten to that point where some crazy mathematician has tried to mine data and come up with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree.
So
I guess my issue is there are games in Hearthstone where the decision making isn't that much of a focus. Mm-hmm. There are games that just play themselves out, and those having people talk to each other about those, I mean, that's just kind of boring to listen to, because what they're thinking. You've done it. You've seen this 1,000 times. It's a card game. Some of those games occur. Now, the ones that are super interesting is when you get into lines of play that are just the ramifications are infinite. then that becomes really interesting. But
Yeah.
some of the games I think are a little bit boring to watch, and you can't isolate those. So it's an all or nothing package,
Yeah.
right? You have to either do it all the time, or maybe you could hybridize it, right? Maybe some sets are done individual by individual, and other ones are the whole team together.
Yeah, you could do like singles, doubles
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
I wonder.
Oh,
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Allie. No, if you.
I was gonna say, I wonder if number of players. Like, I actually do think there would be a difference between 3 people on the team and 4. Like when Jackie and Semkos and we did it. Like, I feel like for the most part, we all communicated pretty well. But maybe if you added one extra person, like that 4th person could totally. It'd be too much, and maybe 3 is the magic number or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's massively dependent on personalities as well, like Noxious.
True,
like,
very true.
Especially if you get like 4 strong personalities.
Highly unlikely, but it could happen, I guess.
But from the viewers, from like a spectator's viewpoint, I think in some tournaments you can actually hear the players communicating. So in global games, you couldn't really hear. You just had the casters and the players would talk to each other. But some events, you can hear the players all communicating with each other. And I think that's really, really good from a spectator standpoint. You can like go through the actual players' thought process and what they're thinking and why they're doing what they're doing, rather than the casters who are kind of just guessing sometimes what they're thinking.
Sure.
Like obviously the casters know what they're talking about, but it's good to have the kind of it from the player sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the comms is definitely something that we've seen a lot more in the last year. I think it started with like Seal and the Red Bull Seal tournament, and now it's we're starting to see it more and more at these team events. So I do like that, but even that right now I think is getting a little bit old. Like it's not a new thing anymore. So keep that, but put them in a different format, because I just feel like de-emphasizing the games themselves is a direction that we should take. Just as an event organizer, because that's the least interesting. That's the most repetitive part right now. Like we all know how games play out. We've seen. It's pretty rare that we're going to see something that's just like so outrageous. It happens every once in a while. Obviously, we talk about it, but 99% of the other times it's just stuff we've seen. So it's kind of boring, to be frank.
Well,
So if we can, I think emphasize more on maybe stuff before, like so with the Seal tournament, for instance, it's kind of cool when there is that whole building of the deck kind of portion, and even that, like I wish they would show more of it. They don't. But one thing they did at the Seal that I think a lot of people might disagree with me, because it's a little bit frenetic from the standpoint of watching. But I like the fact that they played all like when it was 3v3 at that Red Bull Seal tournament, they were all playing at the same time. You know what I mean? Like there was that type of parallel play, and sometimes they would look over each other and like, hey, I need some advice here, like real quick, and then you'd kind of see that kind of interaction. But the fact that they were switching from games made it a little bit harder to play. But I do like that feeling of it's like a little bit more exciting when things are going on at the same time, scores are being put up, at the same time versus just one at a time, like 8 hours, one at a time showing every single match, So. I don't have the answer specifically. It's just I just feel like there needs to be some type of frenetic aspect added to the formats, because right now it's just straight up games. Like we still spend 70%, 80% of the broadcast on just the games, and that's not that interesting anymore to me. It's like.
I mean, it's still an esports, tournament. So
it is.
I do agree
you
that
have
for
to
card
do it.
games, you probably want the drafting. It's like game modes, right? Like different game modes would. Even for the I call it the Pro Tour, the Championship Tour. It would be nice to have different portions of skill being tested instead of just standard constructed. Like, how about they have to win a wild tournament, they have to win a standard tournament, they have to win like a drafting tournament. You get points in different areas, and then you can say, like he's the best Hearthstone player, not the best standard constructed player.
Yeah, you could go simpler. You could just have one day one be standard, and then day two the same players.
Sure.
Like the three of you guys, Allie, Jackie, and Glass too. Like you guys could have just played standard first day, and then arena the second day. And then maybe just teamed up, like you guys 3-on-3, type of like on one game, type of thing in the final day. So it's just that kind of variety, I think that we just need to add that to the event formats, because right now it's just a lot of the same, you know, and need to get away from that a bit. But it sounds like everybody still likes the team format. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, on paper I do, and I think it works out okay when personalities like there's magical teams that just work together. There's just zero awkwardness, communication all the time. They laugh, they giggle. Other people are just like, "Shut up, I need to think," and like that's just a different experience.
Yeah.
You're looking at them, you're like, "Well, this guy is thinking. The other ones want to talk, but if they talk, he's shutting them down." So that's not happening.
Like Jackie said, it's personality dependent. But you know, it just comparing it to other sports, I feel like there are certain athletes who are really I don't know what the word is, you know, outgoing and you know, they're very good at like pumping up the crowd and stuff like that. And so I think it's just, you know, it varies person to person. If you've got a group of people that are outgoing and have entertaining presence, you know, it's going to be more interesting to watch. So yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we move on to Mekkatorque's workshops, since we have a few cards, or at least 2 cards that we can maybe talk about. And Allie and
I haven't seen them.
I've only seen one of them, so we're gonna bring them up here. First one being Mana Tree.
Yeah, mine was a bit of a
Okay, so the theme, guys, if you don't remember, last week we were saying like Mekkatorques, if you want to send it in. And by the way, if you guys want to send in cards, start it up again. You know, we definitely took a break because the expansion came out and stuff, but now we're going to start it up again, so go ahead and send those over to Value Town at ChanManV.tv. But the theme this week was to make some cards that might help with just how strong Druid is right now. So you could either take the approach of, you know, something that counters Druid, or maybe a Druid card that maybe in place of something that's already there. I don't know. But Allie has a card that's not a Druid card, so I'm assuming this would be more punishing a Jade Druid or an Aggro Druid, and this is a Mana Tree, 2 mana. Actually, you want to walk us through it, Allie? Given it's your card.
Yeah, I need to like explain myself because I'm not happy with the final product, but it's the theory that I'm trying to
Yeah, just conversation,
so,
right? Mm-hmm.
So it's a 2 mana 1/3 battle cry, gain +1 attack for each mana crystal your opponent spent last turn. I wanted to punish ramping basically, but also find a way to balance it to where you're not just simply punishing for, you know, your opponent playing a card. So I couldn't figure out how to balance it, but this is in a pinch what I came up with. So I was like, let's figure out a way where we could potentially punish for ramp in a certain way. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't think this is perfect. I think ChanMan was saying earlier, like maybe you change it to the point where it's like added, like extra, like an innervate or a wild growth or something, like where you did just your.
No, I think it's okay like this, honestly. Like a 2 mana, I mean, a 2 mana 3/3. I think as a neutral card might be too much, but if you that might be it, right? Like as a neutral, maybe that's the problem.
Right.
Maybe you're looking to slot it into a class that just you want to create like a rock paper scissors where people are defaulting to one class because they want to Shrek Druid, and I think that's acceptable. So you could technically just put that somewhere else.
Yeah.
But like 2 mana 3/3s nowadays outside of aggro decks just kind of like okay. Like we've got Mistress of Mixtures if we're looking for like a strong early tempo. 2 mana 3/3 is great, but it doesn't inherently solve the problem.
I think that well, I mean, it solves a problem in the fact that you do punish them pretty hard in the very beginning. So you would buy some time, or maybe even if you're a tempo-based deck, you could get tempo pretty quickly if you use this to the right time. The only thing about this card, I think that, you know, is the late game. Like if it's turn 10, then all of a sudden this thing is like an 11/3.
11/3.
You know, it's like
is that a problem? We're playing 13/13s, buddy. Like I'm okay.
That's true, and this is a lot easier to kill. It's got 3 health. You know, like this is an easy wrath or removal at the end of the game. You know.
Yeah.
This die is easy.
Yeah, well, we do have 0 mana 8/8s at the end of games and stuff like that.
Right,
exactly,
like it's totally
exactly.
fine.
Okay, okay. Maybe you guys convinced me that this might
2
be.
mana 0.
This is crazy power level, though. I mean, we're talking 2 mana now.
2 mana 0/3. I think a 2 mana 0/3 makes it fine.
Okay.
I entertained the idea of 0/3.
I can agree with that.
Okay.
So.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely cool, and definitely would fight off that early ramp. You know, those early, whatever they are, Mire Keepers or the Jade Spirits and things like that, right? So Pretty cool card. I was like smiling, laughing just a second ago because I didn't actually see Jackie's card until just now.
Oh, I haven't seen it either.
At least the name.
Okay,
the
this
name.
is gonna be good.
The
Yeah, my
name
God,
is-
it's a bit of a meme.
Oh god,
This
the name is
gonna
so
be good.
What?
So,
Ultimate
I was thinking of how can I make. I've been playing Hunter like nonstop, and I was thinking, oh, Hunter should be really good against Jade Druid, but it's just not. So how can I make my Hunter deck good against Jade Druid?
It's the name, though.
So instead of Ultimate Infestation, we have Ultimate Penetration.
I can't even.
A plus on creativity.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay.
It's a 5-mana 3/1 stealth. Battlecry, your hero and minions can ignore taunt for the rest of the game. My main
3 at least.
Wow.
is to
Yeah.
get past the problem of spreading plague.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you'll end up killing more stuff than spreading plague with this.
Ultimate,
Like heroes.
ultimate
just-
penetration countering spreading plague.
Oh my
Oh
God.
man, that druid got
Wow.
It's
petted.
just-
Yeah, okay. But Allie, what were you
I
gonna
like-
say?
I can't cast this card, Jackie.
I like the idea. It just seems like people would just go fake. Like this is just the ultimate aggro card. Like
Yeah.
you know, just it's the ultimate smart hunter card. So
But what if you
Yeah.
misdirect them? no, they can't misdirect them because they're druid, right? So, what is there anything
Yeah.
that they can do? I guess they can't, right? Except
But
for
I like how
heal.
you made it 5 mana, because usually on
Yeah.
5 mana
Yeah,
they're playing
yeah.
Ultimate Infestation. So you're actually on curve. You're still exactly matching them card for card.
But do you think the ability of ignoring taunts instead of a silence, just a whole ability, you can just ignore taunt for the rest of the game?
Yeah,
like,
well,
do you
maybe
think
not
that
the
could
whole
potentially
game.
be-
I think
Honestly-
it's too powerful, to be honest. Like and all canceling. I mean, silencing or destroying all taunts on the board at the moment. I mean, I'd be okay with something like that, but like for the rest of the game, then all of a sudden you just totally countered some deck. You know, like in an event. Imagine an event, right?
Yeah.
Nobody will ever play a taunt type of deck anymore because of it. So
Well,
I
I mean,
feel-
I don't think it's that bad. As an epic mate, go ahead.
Oh no! I was just gonna say I feel like the game caters to aggro, you know, and I
Yeah,
feel like this is
good
just
point.
giving that in another tool when it's already set up for aggressive decks to kind of excel. So
that's a good point. Yeah, it's the ultimate tool. Like outside of
Yeah.
taunt, I mean, you have heal. That's it. You know, it's like you're gonna lose, like for sure.
yeah,
I guess there could be a mechanic like flying in Magic where it can only be blocked by other things with flying. Like that would be.
right.
Oh,
I wouldn't mind a class of
yeah.
creatures that can only interact with each other, right? Like ethereals, I don't care how you want to call them, but like
Huh.
they're ghosts and they can block each other, but never mind, no one else can actually interact with them. I think I mean, let's be honest, that's gonna happen at some point. So let's just put it out there. That mechanic will show up. I have no doubt about that. And it will
What,
probably,
minions that can just ignore taunt? Or
that ignore minions that don't have the same type as themselves, right? Like let's say they're ethereals. If you don't have the ethereal keyword, then you can't attack that.
Oh,
or
so you have to
can't
counter
kill
ethereal
it.
with an ethereal type of
Right,
thing.
exactly.
Okay.
So you have to
That's
basically
interesting.
give ethereal.
That's cool.
You can like make your creature ghostly by giving it a buff or something,
Oh.
and then maybe you can then interact. But that's gonna happen, I have no doubt. The question, of course, is how toxic could the mechanic become, and it will become toxic if there's really no counterplay to it. We've had effects like these be very problematic, but in Hearthstone, where the attacker's advantage is so prominent, this card is busted in an aggro deck. And now if the
Very,
default mechanic of not interacting with the minion outside of maybe spells existed, then that would be very, very punishing.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So definitely some good ones today, though.
It's interesting. Yeah.
All right. So
Let me get another last word in before
Okay,
this.
sure.
I would like to see cards that actually counter certain other heroes that say, like a keyword, I don't care how it would be called, like against druids and hunters and warriors, say, or whatever. I do it does something more, so that you have access to a tech card that targets 3 classes, at the same time, if you want to defeat them, now you'd have to find a commonality. But it would be like I could really get behind the idea of class-specific tech cards, kind of like in other card games. They've explored the idea of having uninteractable. I forget what the keyword is in Magic, but there used to be an old one that basically, if they had a swamp walk, if they had a land that was a swamp, you could just get past it, and you know, you would never be blockable while there was that there. So it was kind of cool, but it's hard to implement in Hearthstone. But I'd like to see them try that out a little bit.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty interesting too.
What about a 2-mana 2/3 battle cry? If you're against Druid, destroy one of their mana crystals.
Dude, I'm down. I'm actually down. Like that. But that's the kind of stuff I don't mind those cards because they're completely dead, like utterly dead in so many matchups. And against Druid, I mean, I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter, but it's like they're gaining 7 mana crystals anyway. So who cares about one of the 5 they're gaining? And that's what I'm talking about. It's like those cards are not cards you necessarily want to have because they're so, people say it's over specialized, it's not good. Skull King guys didn't solve the meta problem. I mean, that's all true. But if the card is semi-playable and you just put it in and it's not a drawback to you because you're playing something specific, then maybe there's room for that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't mind those anti-class mechanics.
Just going off of what Noxious was saying, I wish that they printed more tri-class cards. Like, I thought that was a really cool concept. Like, maybe it wouldn't work, but I enjoyed them, and I feel like they only released, like, 2 per... What was it? Yeah.
Tri-class mechanics, I guess. I just don't want tri-class mechanics. Like...
Okay.
Like, the problem with tri-class cards is they always homogenize the game, right? Like, everything... Like, for a while, every mage was Kazakus, every priest was Kazakus, every warlock was Kazakus.
Yeah.
At least in a while.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And,
that's fair.
We're lucky it didn't happen with Grimy Goons and Jades, right? Like, we had Jade Shaman and Jade Druid, but, like, imagine if all rogues were Jade right now, and all Shamans were Jade, and all Druids were Jade, and, like, oh, God.
It would be, it
that
would be
gotten
really
old
bad.
really quick.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fair point. I agree.
So
It could have happened.
There's a
too.
flip side to it.
It actually could have happened. Okay, well, why don't we take some quick questions, and then we'll let you guys, or at least Noxious, go here. We've got a question from our friend Ahmed N, and given that we're talking about Druid a little bit, he's got a question about Ultimate Infestation, not penetration. First, does it deserve a nerf? And second, please suggest a fun nerf. And he gave an example. His would be to make it destroy 5 mana crystals, or draw 15 to mill yourself. So
Draw 15.
yeah.
Whoa.
I actually think a draw 10 would be an interesting type of thing, because it would make it a little bit more situational, right, to use the card in a weird way, right? I think I would do something like that. I think the drawing type of nerf would be a good way to still keep it super powerful, but at the same time, like, have at least some type of penalty to it, because right now it has no penalty. What about you guys? What do you think?
Man, I've got a funny idea. You kill off Jade Idol so they actually can't play 2 Ultimate Infestations without reaching fatigue in one game.
What?
Sounds actually reasonable.
Can't you do that?
What a
right
fun
now?
concept! A meta game without. I mean, it's the reason they're allowed to play Punish, because they always add more stuff. Because right now, if you've not played a Jade Idol in your game and you draw double Infestation, you're at exactly 2 cards. From what I've played, it seems like they just end up having nearly nothing left over. They have no pressure because they don't have infinite growth. So,
But you can do that now, right? You can run a Geist and...
Yeah, but then their Infestation, or like usually that last Infestation phase to kill you, it's never getting played for draw anymore. The first one is played for that because they go, Wild Growth, Jade Blossom, Nourish into Infestation, and they have 2 cards in hand, go back to full. But that second Infestation is rarely used for draw. Like, it just doesn't.
Yeah,
it's just
usually
kind of there to draw Jade Idols, basically. Like, that's all it draws. It just draws a bunch of Jade Idols. So.
I'm struggling to think of a nerf because I don't necessarily think the card itself is the issue, and I've said this multiple times, and so I can't really think of a good option other than maybe like can't play before turn 10. If it couldn't be played before turn 10, I don't think it'd be that much of an issue, honestly. I mean, it's still insanely powerful, but yeah, I can't think of a solid nerf to it without completely killing the card.
What about 10 mana, deal 5 damage, gain 5 armor, summon a 5/5, draw 5 cards. If you don't overdraw, lose the game.
Woof.
Or your opponent draws 5
That's
cards.
pretty damn cool.
That's a
If
good
you
one.
don't
That's just
overdraw,
like
your
a
opponent
paladin,
draws 5
just like
cards.
instant lose.
If you drew duplicates, discard your hand. Hey, Jade Idol, how you feeling?
That's true. That's true. Any duplicates are destroyed. Yeah.
No, your entire hand is destroyed.
Your
if you
entire
draw
hand?
duplicates.
Oh my
Get
god.
screwed.
That's like
Yes.
that's like brutal,
Yep,
man.
no, you're dead. Good luck. Have fun.
Okay.
You deserve it.
You deserve it. All right. All right. So there's definitely some suggestions there. We've got another question here from. He asked for fun suggestions, right? So Marin M actually has a pretty maybe like an educational type of question, and he asks. So this might sound a bit weird, but what's the difference between combo deck and a control deck? So, for folks that don't know, maybe be listening to the show sometimes, we say combo decks, we say control decks, and, some combo decks are control decks, right, with the finish. And I think that's probably the answer. Like a combo deck is a specific type of control deck. Where
I'd say like combo decks involve using a specific amount and set of cards in order to finish the game, I would say, and a control deck could win in multiple ways. I think you could say that, but I feel like combo. I mean, I guess you could. Win
there are different
too.
winning conditions for control decks.
Yeah, they're different. It's the win condition that's really that sets them apart. So.
Yeah, it's the way they win. Like there have been in the past control decks and other card games. I mean, we've seen some. I don't want to. I mean, aggro combo, right? Like it's kind of hard to have an aggro combo deck, but it's happened in Magic specifically because it allows for degenerate combos to exist everywhere. In Hearthstone, not so much. I guess we could look at Force of Nature Savage Roar
for a long time. Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like Force of Nature Savage Roar was the closest thing we ever got to that. But I've also seen some people, suggest that if Priest ever gets an aggro deck, then you have the Shadow Visions, Radiant Alley, Mind Blast shenanigans that could become sort of a combo to end the game if you get there. It's like there can be combo elements to a deck, but like one turn kill combos, those tend to be restricted to very elaborate ones, like Faceless, Leroy, Power Overwhelming after an Emperor Thorson tick. Those tend to be relegated to the extremely control-y decks that have time to get through their cards with card draw. So.
And that's your traditional definition, I think. Of a
right.
Combo. There are combo decks, I'd say, that are in Hearthstone, right? Like Rogue right now with, say, the Miracle Shirazin. I mean, Miracle anything, right? Like I feel like is a combo deck.
True.
Yeah, I mean, Priest has the Divine Spirit in a Fire type thing with like Silence Priest or Tempo Priest.
That's an aggro combo deck if I've ever seen it, actually.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I played Purified Priest all the way this season, so yeah, that's an aggro combo deck for sure.
Yeah, it's a well-balanced aggro combo deck, actually.
Yep.
So, okay, hopefully that answered your question, Miran, because I believe me, I've been there too. Like not knowing the differences or some of the terms that we all use when we're talking about Hearthstone and card games. But okay, well, we're gonna wrap up. I know Noxious got to get going, so dude, pleasure having you back on. It's always fun. Any shout outs you want to do before we take off?
No, just shout outs to Complexity as usual. And I was supposed to do a fishing stream after this, but since we started later than I expected, there's no fishing stream. So all of you, I said I would fish afterwards. Yeah, I play WoW for fishing. Oh. That's all I do. That's all there is to do in that game anymore, is there?
It's like opening boxes, man. Just fishing. What'd I get?
So people use loot crates. I don't open CS:GO boxes, man. I'm just fishing.
Not haggling it. Yeah. Okay. Cool, man. Jackie, want to do some shouts?
Yeah. Shout out to What team am I on again?
What team?
Do you need help?
Allie, can you help, please?
It's called Fade to Karma, Jackie. Otherwise known as
Shout out to
F2K.
Fade Karma forever supporting me and Ali. Legendary team right there. And yeah, check me out on Twitch and Twitter, F2K_Jackie and Jackie Chan on Twitch.
Awesome. Allie?
Thank you to the patrons for supporting us. Letting us do what we like to do. Twitch chat. Thanks for just being Twitch chat, just chilling, watching.
Being
If you're on my
awesome.
channel, I think I've got like an hour or maybe 2 to stream after this, so watch me. But yeah, thanks to my co-hosts, and that's it for me.
All right, awesome. I will round things out by thanking the 3 of you guys, of course. Everybody else for being patient, given that Twitch was having some issues. And I don't want to forget our patrons, too. We kind of mixed up the order a little bit today. So I do want to give a shout out to our patrons that do support the show, and we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. So we want to make sure we spend a little bit of time every episode. So big shout out to Mike T and Romy S. We got a new a legendary producer this week, as well as Jacob P, Raydan, Bryce L, Cameron M, Paul H, Vincent G, Joel A, Jack O, David H, and David F, just to name a few. Again, you guys allow us to do this each and every week. And if you guys do want to support Value Town, go to patreon.com/ValueTown. Check it out. Send us a pledge if you do or you're able to, and $1, quarter, anything helps us out, helps us be able to again continue doing this. Also, I want to remind folks that you can find Value Town on all the audio channels that are available, just audio apps and whatnot, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, SoundCloud.com/ChanManV. You can find us there. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating because it helps us out, helps people find Value Town when they're searching for Hearthstone or gaming podcasts. And big shout out to Steven =42 and Law Before Grace for the latest kind words and 5-star ratings. So kudos to you guys. But that's going to be it, guys, this week. You can find all the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV. And yeah, I think that's it. We'll be back next Wednesday. Oh, one last thing. I'll be at PAX this weekend. So if you guys happen to be in PAX West up in Seattle, I'll be doing 2 streamer showdowns, a general gaming one and an Overwatch one on Friday and Monday. So definitely come by the Twitch booth and find us there, or at least maybe look at the schedule, and you'll find me there too, and just say hi. But that's going to be it, guys, for Value Town this week. So for Noxious, Jackie Chan, Alliestrasza, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
See you later. Peace out.
All right. All right, ladies and gents.